Hello everyone, this is History Time, and today we are going to tell you a tale about great victories and pitiable losses. Today we'll tell you chronicles about the fearless heroes and epic events that became a major source for the big changes that shaped southeastern Europe in the 14th century. This century became known as the Epic of the 100 Years' War, the Last Crusades, new trade routes discovered by Marco Polo, and Black Death. Today we will speak about a story that the broad public knows little about, but which left significant consequences to the history of Europe and the world. The year 1302, Asia Minor. Byzantine Emperor Michael IX had recently reached the town of Magnesia and continued campaigning against the Turks in the south of the town. The enemy, awed by his large army, avoided the battle from the day the Byzantine troops were deployed to the peninsula. The emperor gave the order to assemble the troops on the plain not far from the town and prepare a fight. The Turks took position in the nearby hills and waited for further developments. Although Michael was eager to fight, the location was not favorable for an attack, so he decided to wait. Suddenly, the Turks moved down. The emperor warrior took out his sword and turned to his army for a decisive speech. But, unexpectedly, 2/3 of his army started to retreat without fighting. They were Alan mercenaries, and after pillaging the countryside, they decided to leave for their homes so they would not risk losing their loot. And instead of a motivational speech, Michael furiously ordered his imperial army to hide in the fortress of Magnesia. Michael was the son of Andronicus II, Palaeologus, and the Hungarian princess Anna. At the age of 18, he became co-emperor with his father. Soon thereafter, Michael married Rita, a daughter of King Leo III of Cilician Armenia. He was perhaps the bravest Byzantine warrior emperor of all time, but despite his bravery, he had never won any battle. He grew up with legends about the emperors Basil and Justinian, and dreamt of restoring the glory of the empire. His first campaign ended in tragedy, and he was then trapped by the besieging Turks in a fortress far from the capital. Several months later, the Byzantine army suffered another hard defeat at the Battle of Bapheus. This time, the Turks were led by the founder of the Ottoman Empire, Osman I. The Battle of Bapheus went through the same scenario. Alan mercenaries left the field without a fight, leaving Byzantines alone. Besides the Turks, the empire was at war with Venetia, who was crushing them in the Aegean Sea, taking one island after another. In addition, the Byzantine army, led by former king of Bulgaria Michael Azan II, was defeated in a civil war against the new king, Theodor Svetoslav, and Theodor was preparing a new offensive against the empire. Thus Andronicus realized that the empire could no longer resist without assistance from the outside. The best days of the empire had passed away. Though the father of Andronicus had once liberated Constantinople in the Fourth Crusade, this ancient empire was weak like never before. Alongside this, another major event occurred in the region which is connected to our story. The peace treaty of Caltabellotta brought the War of Sicilian Vespers between King of Sicily Frederick III and King Charles II of Naples to an end. Mercenaries were the main combat power in that war on both sides, and the mightiest among them were the Catalans, who were also known as the Almogavars. They were like today's special forces, the fiercest warriors of Europe. For them, the war was not only a profession, but also a way of life. They lived in the hills and forests of Spain and spent their lives in a war against local Muslims during the period of Reconquista. The Almogavars had served the King of Sicily as a major loyal force, but once the war finished, they had nothing to do on the island. Frederick was unwilling and unable to keep mercenaries and was impatient to free the island from their unruly troops, so he suggested Andronicus hire them against the Turks. The emperor, who recently signed a shameful treaty with Venetia and fell into a terrible situation, gladly agreed to hire the victorious troops to assist in the liberation of Asia Minor, and thus the great Catalan campaign kicked off. The Almogavars were led by Rodger de Flor, probably the most fascinating adventurer of his age. His character most resembles that of Jack Sparrow. Rodger was born to one of Sicily's noble families. Soon he became a Templar sailor. During the siege of the Acre by the Mamluks, he became rich using a Templar galley to shuttle wealthy Christian fugitives from the besieged city to Cyprus for enormous fees. Following some intrigues and personal disputes, he was accused of robbery and denounced to the Pope as a thief and an apostate. This resulted in his relegation from the order. Rodger fled to Genoa, where he borrowed a considerable sum from one of the local merchants, purchased a new vessel, and began a career in piracy. The war for the possession of Sicily was at this time going on, and Rodger, by then one of the most experienced military commanders of his time, was called to the service of Frederick, who gave him the rank of vice-admiral. When the war came to an end, he found an opportunity to make his services useful in the east, fighting against the Turks who were ravaging the Byzantine Empire, and so he chased fate in search of new opportunities, glory, and wealth, of course. Subscribe to the channel to catch our sequel video and see what happens next in the Catalan campaign. And if you like our work, you can become a patron and support us to create more series like these.